Okay, guys, in the new year now, we are starting with this special episode for me because 2 years ago we've done a written interview with Cassidy Paris, and now we go in this format because almost 2 years now we're doing the podcast. This is 46th episode, so welcome and happy new year, Cassidy.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be on video form this time. It's so much fun.
Of course. This is kind of special for me because you have Macedonian roots, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I've talked to your father quite more. I know him for a few years, online, and we've talked a little bit more, and got to know him through social media. And I know he plays with you and he makes the songs with you together. So first I wanted to ask you about, then we're gonna talk about the new album, but I wanted to ask you about your beginnings.
Of course, yeah. I think my grandparents would be very proud of me doing a Macedonian interview today. I'll have to show her, my grandmother, this video afterwards when it goes live. She'll love it.
To Baba, yeah.
Yeah, to Baba, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So how did you start? I know that you started writing at 11 with Paul Laine from Danger. I know that.
Yeah.
But how did you start before that?
Well, my first instrument was actually playing guitar, and I think obviously that came from, for people that don't know, my dad is and has been a guitarist for a very long time. Ever since I remember, we had guitars like floating around in our house, and I guess I was listening to rock music literally from the womb, and I was, born and bred on rock and roll, and I guess I kind of reached out to my dad when I was old enough, and I remember getting a guitar for probably my 6th or 7th birthday, and funnily enough, a bit of a full circle moment, I got a Fender Squire, I think it was, and now I'm endorsed by Fender, so pretty cool, full circle kind of thing to happen.
Yeah.
So I started out on guitar, and then I think something that my dad really kind of, he definitely laid out the facts to me pretty early on, and he said, look, even if you're gonna just do guitar, it's really, quite good if you learn how to sing. It's a very good quality to have as a musician, and it's funny because I fell in love with singing even more so, and I got singing lessons, and the rest is kind of history, I guess.
That's about when did you start? Who was most popular then? Was it when Hailstorm, for example, were the first album?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so I reckon my first album that I kind of really fell in love with, and it kind of really got me into the rock scene in particular. Obviously, like I said, I grew up Alice Cooper. I went to Alice Cooper concerts and stuff, and Kiss concerts as a kid, but I remember just being absolutely obsessed with Lzzy Hale when I was younger. And I remember listening to the Strange Case of album when it came out and thinking, oh my goodness, this is the bands that I want to be like. I wanted to be like Lzzy Hale, and she was just such a good role model as well for young women that wanted to get into rock and roll, and there wasn't a lot going around at the time as well. Obviously you have Joan Jett and Lita Ford, the ones that kind of paved the way, but Lizzie and Taylor Momsen, even from the Pretty Reckless, were kind of the two that really stood out to me and made a difference in getting me into that scene in particular.
Yeah, we had, for example, they were globally and more American, metal. We in Europe had a lot of the Scandinavian bands like Nightwish and female vocalists that we liked 20-25 years ago.
exactly. Yeah, I remember like my dad has supported Nightwish, I think in Australia when they did their Australian rounds, and again, even like Amy Lee from Evanescence, I was a big fan of her as well. There are so many different women, and I think it's exciting because coming into this scene now as well, there's kind of like a new wave of female fronted bands, which is a great to be a part of.
Yeah. It's women in rock and roll now are like a lot of guitarists, female guitarists are now actually into booming, and a lot of singers as well. And I follow Hellstorm even since before they released the first album. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of theirs. But also growing up in the late 80s and 90s, I'm a fan of the old school bands. Also, like my father taught me.
Yeah, exactly right. Like it's pretty cool. Like in probably just over 2 months, like I get to play on the same stages as Lita Ford on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and I grew up, listening to the Runaways and Lita Ford solo stuff. So it's a very cool kind of full circle thing that's happening right now.
Yeah, which Monsters of Rock is that? Where it's gonna cruise?
So it goes out of Miami. And I think it has 2 stops on the cruise, which I'm so excited. Like I'm over the moon to be able to play that cruise. It's been something just even as a fan, I've always like wanted to do. And the whole Cassidy Paris team is really excited to be able to do that this year. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I had my friends, the Big Deal from Serbia played that cruise. Yeah. I met the Big Deal at Frontiers Fest this year. Oh, really?
She was lovely.
Yeah,
I met the blonde girl.
Nevena. Yeah.
She was beautiful, very, very lovely.
Yeah, Nevena. So her husband is a friend of mine, Srđan Branković. The guitar player. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So after you started writing music with Paul from Danger, at 11 years, right?
Yeah, very young.
So when was your first recorded music, and did you have any bands before growing up?
No, so the solo stuff has always kind of been the like direction I wanted to go in, but yeah, and I've been working at the Cassidy Paris stuff. I think my first like single before, like I obviously put out singles and stuff before I was signed and put out the debut record. And that was like obviously a journey that like I'm really, really grateful for now as well, being able to play at such a young age. It taught me a lot about being a musician and being on the road, and kind of primed me for this, time in my life. I think that I started writing when I was really young, and I reached out to Paul, and he was here in Australia. My dad's band were backing him on some solo shows that he was doing, and he was just so lovely. He took me under his wing, and I was just able to start from there. But my first ever single that I ever put out, I think I recorded when I was 13 and released when I was 14, and that was called Talk About It.
Wow, awesome! And I remember that you had EPs before you released the first album. I remember that.
Yeah.
So you have 2 EPs and 2 albums now, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I think the EPs, a lot of people. It's funny because the EPs are like fully sold out, and it's like, I see an EP around, and some people do bring them to shows, like they're like a collector's item, I guess, like now, and I'll sign them, and it's just so cool to see, like, obviously the journey, and people will bring them to shows, and but it's rare, like, for me to see one these days. And so we had Broken Hearted, which was my first EP, and then we had Flirt, which was my second one, and then obviously New Sensation was my debut, and Bittersweet is my second album.
Yeah, the new album that you released now, right? You released your last single 3 months ago. I mean, the video that you released, right? It was maybe the most professionally done video for you. The Ugly Coyote video, right?
Yeah. It was it's funny because I remember trying to think of like a theme, and something with this album that I've been really trying to focus on is obviously like you know, I have all these themes that are involved in the music and making of the music, but then trying to think of something of like a way to market it as well is a whole other, you know, can of fish. Like it's so difficult to try and like figure out where you want to go with themes. And I feel like the Coyote Ugly thing kind of just happened, and I was speaking about it with, a lot of the times I'll discuss it with my mum, and I'll be like, oh, what do you think about this theme? And Coyote Ugly was something that just stuck, and I had two of my you know, best girlfriends in the clip, which was so much fun to film it with them. And yeah, it was just a really fun music video, and you know, I might be doing a bit of that live. You know, I might get up on a bar somewhere in Europe this year, we'll see.
Yeah, you Australians are doing that. I saw Airborne from Australia, and they're doing exactly that. They're up there on the bars and, you know, playing with the beer and stuff. I saw them live.
Yeah. Maybe Australians have an obsession with bars. I don't know. Getting up on bars, performing on bars.
Yeah, probably. Your father was also a huge inspiration for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. He always has been.
Does he sing? Or only
you know what, I think that's maybe something that, like, you know, when I was saying earlier, like he said, for me it's a really good quality to be able to sing. You know, I think he learned to sing, or even he learned to play guitar a lot later than what usual musicians would. Like, he started playing guitar when he was 16 or 17. He picked it up because he was trying to get into AFL, and he wanted to play guitar, and that's kind of how he got into it. But he learned to sing a lot later. Like, I remember him like practicing harmonies and learning to try and, you know, like match pitch and stuff when I was a young girl. So a lot later in his career, he was able to do that.
Okay. So on the new record and on the previous one, he not only tours, but he also plays on the records, right? With you?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you sign with Frontiers Records, and how did that happen?
I believe it was in 2022 or 2023. I'm not sure of the exact year. It could have been I remember signing it in 2022, but I think it was released in 2023 because the first record came out in late 2023. And the way it kind of came about is I had this single called Danger, and it's very
I remember it.
Yeah. It's very 80s inspired, like kind of like Vixen-esque kind of single, and we were pitching it, you know, like kind of shopping the music around to a couple of labels, and Frontiers really were like willing and wanted to get behind exactly what my vision was for the Cassidy Paris stuff. And working with them has just been an absolute blast. I love the entire team. I got to meet all of them in Italy last year. And we have so much coming up this year, which is very, very exciting.
Wow, awesome. So you signed for a few albums more, probably? Yeah. So you're gonna release more albums with them, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That is awesome. Tell me something more about the new album, Bittersweet, right?
Yes, Bittersweet. Yeah, I guess Bittersweet. You know, the whole Cassidy Paris thing. Like, my dad and I, it's never at a standstill, and we're very like productive people. We're always creating, always writing. And I remember, like, literally, New Sensation had come out, and the response was wild, like so much better than we could have ever predicted. And we went on tour to the UK, and we just saw the response, and we were like, well, we need to just keep writing immediately because we want to like keep this, you know, keep this ball rolling. And we went back to Australia, and that's when we kind of got to work on Bittersweet. It was immediately. And that's something that, you know, the label and I are really, you know, on the same page with as well, you know, keeping things coming out and keeping the ball rolling, always doing stuff. As a fan as well, I think it's really nice to just keep seeing new music coming out there on new tours, you know. When an artist or a band is doing, it just makes you so excited as a fan of the music. And that's something that I really realized being a fan of, the, you know, Hailstorm, Pretty Reckless, any band that you can think of. I'm like, what are they doing next? What are they going to do next? So that's kind of how Bittersweet came about, and I got to work with a bunch of like heavyweights in the industry on this record. So I'm really excited about that. That you know, the collaborations are really, really cool. Like I got Pete L'Esperance from Harum Scarum plays on, you know, the second single Stronger, which was awesome because I got to tour with them in April of last year, and that was really, really cool.
I remember that you also I heard on the album that you also wrote with Steve Brown from Trickster. And from he also wrote the last album of Ace Frehley. So I'm actually doing an interview with Steve Brown later on in this month for this podcast. Yeah. It was.
Oh yeah, no, Steve is just like a ball of energy, and like, you know, everything you see online of the man is like exactly true to his you know, personality and character, and he's just such a nice person. I remember reaching out to him, and he was just like, absolutely, like what are you thinking? Was so on board with like my vision for everything, and then when Nothing Left to Lose came about, I remember just like, you know, singing on that track and thinking to myself, like, wow, this is like got to be a single, because it's one of my favorite songs I've ever released or put out. And it's funny because I think the fans as well really liked it too. Like I was reading comments and messages and, you know, all these DMs saying like, I really love that like heavier edge with Nothing Left to Lose, because I'd never kind of experimented going down that route at all, and with Nothing Left to Lose I was able to do that, so it was pretty cool.
I love it. It's like the hardest, the heaviest song you did. Probably it's close to on the borderline between heavy metal and you know, hard and a little bit of punk rock, you know.
That's it. Yeah. It was very cool, and I think you know, even like the new stuff that I do after, it's given me a really good indication of where people want me to go with things next as well. You also do have punk rock influence in your songs. I can hear that. I can hear maybe early Avril Lavigne, and I can hear some 90s pop punk, maybe. I don't know. Yes. yeah, definitely. I think that, like, you know, when you listen to a Cassidy Paris record, like a band that I would say kind of do a similar thing sometimes is Extreme. When you listen to an Extreme record, you can get lots of different things, and that's kind of how I set up the first record to be. You know, you listen to a song like Midnight Desire that you know, it's very like AOR, and then you listen to a song like Addicted on that album, very, very different. And I think that's something that I really like, because then you're not pigeonholed to a certain select style, and you can kind of go any which way with things.
Yeah, you're not stick to one genre only, but the sound of the guitars and your voice makes it complete. You know, it's not like it's a different style. You know, it's not like different music.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's I think it's something that I'm really, you know, proud of, and I feel like with Bittersweet, and I think you know, people listening to it as well, I hope see that, you know, Bittersweet was really me coming into myself as an artist on this record. You know, with the first record, you don't know how it's going to be received, and obviously New Sensation was really well received, and I'm so grateful for that. So when we did Bittersweet, I had like a very good idea of what I wanted to be as an artist and who I wanted to become going into that record. And I just feel like I know myself better than I ever have.
Yeah, I followed your transition from the first to the second because like a little bit of unhappy moment happened in while we were on tour. Like half of the band left the tour, right? It was in UK. Why did that happen? And that transformed you and made the new record, right?
Yeah, I think it was a very disappointing thing to happen, and like I don't like to obviously like speak on it too much, but I was just very saddened because it was very much like the rug was pulled out from under me and my father, and when a lot of musicians that have something like that happen will understand that there is nothing better than being able to see the crowds and interact with them live. And I was not only heartbroken for like what happened, but I was heartbroken for everyone that we were supposed to see. It was like I will say it was very unprofessional what happened, and I think that it's something that in the future, I've really made sure that there is no possibility of that ever happening again. And I just, I'm looking forward with things. I released the song Stronger as well. Yeah. But it is very difficult as especially a young musician and a young female in the scene going through that the day before a tour is supposed to happen. I think people could read between the lines with what was going on there, and to have the rug pulled out from you like financially, professionally and personally was just heartbreaking to me, and it took me a lot of time to get over that as well. But I feel like Bittersweet is kind of a bit of a prophecy because that album was obviously written before all that stuff happened, but it was very much a reflection of, you stand with power and, you keep moving and don't let anyone try and, make you become someone that you're not. I felt very silenced as not only a musician, but as a woman for a very long time. So it was a very difficult thing for me to kind of combat, but I feel stronger than ever now. So I'm ready.
Yeah, it's kind of like... transformed you, and you are pretty well now. You look pretty much stronger than before, and the album is stronger than before, and everything. It looks like that.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I've done a lot of work behind the scenes, and I've had this is not only on the part of me or my father, but there have been so many people that are working behind the scenes on the whole Cassidy Paris project at the moment. And this year, I think it's the beginning of something really special. I can't wait to reveal what we're doing. We're doing so many things worldwide in places that I've never been to in my life and never thought I would ever venture to. So it's just a very exciting time. I think incidents like that really do make you stronger, and I think it's going to be really fun to see where things go from here, because there are so many different people that have their hand in the pie with this project. So
that's amazing. What are your future steps, if you can reveal something like short term and long term maybe?
Yeah, there is literally something happening basically every month of this year, which is, going to be instrumental to the next season of the Cassidy Paris project. I think that, it's so exciting for me because I've been waiting, to speak on a lot of these things, but I have something that's coming up that's quite a new venture for me that's coming up really soon with my record label, Frontiers. I have, I'm touring. I'm doing the UK tour, which is called the Finish What We Started tour. And I'm touring in a lot of different places too. Some that I'm not allowed to speak on yet.
Okay.
I'm basically like, out of the country for majority of this year, which, is just so exciting for me. I can't wait to like show people what I've got on these next show dates.
Yeah, I love the name of your UK tour next in, I think, April, May, right?
Yeah, correct.
What was the name again? Finish what we started, right?
Finish what we started. Yeah.
Great name. Great.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. It's funny because it was a song obviously on the new record, Bittersweet. But like I said, everything kind of feels like a bit of a prophecy. And, I remember like kind of trying to think of like, what am I going to call it? A big one was like, do I call it the Stronger Tour? Or do I call it the Finish What We Started tour? And Finish What We Started just seemed to stick a little bit better, considering what happened. So, like I'm very grateful to the fan base and to the community online that has stood by me through this. Like I know it's been difficult for them to see, an artist go through that as well. But I'm so grateful, and I just can't wait to give people, everything I've got on this tour, and, make sure that they know that I really value them as a fan base.
Awesome. By the way, I had many guests in this past year and a half from Frontiers bands. I had, Ronnie Romero, I had Joel Hoekstra, I had Jimmy Bell from Autograph, and a lot of them. So you're now in that family, of guests from Frontiers. Yeah.
It's funny because all those people I just admire so much, but a lot of them as well, like I've spoken to now via the label and everything, and it's awesome as a fan of the music for so long to be able to know those people as well.
Okay. We should maybe finish up. What's the time there?
The time? It's 9:30 a.m. So right.
You're starting the day. Yeah, I'm finishing the day.
It's been really fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. We'll do it next time again when you have a big thing to say, next album or maybe next tour or something else. We'll stay in touch and say hi to your father.
Sounds
to
good.
Steve.
Thank you so much. I will do.
And we'll hope to see you on tour this year.
Yeah, thank you so much. You definitely will. I definitely will say that.
I will try. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you later.
Bye. See ya.